All right, Mark. There were a couple things that you had mentioned before about kind of getting a job and things like that, and I know you've just been struggling about that a little bit. So there's actually a skill set that we can work on in order to kind of help you set goals for you if you're up for it.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk through. There's 4 steps. A couple of them are thinking steps, which would mean those are kind of those thoughts that go through our head. And the other are behavior steps. So those are the actual actions that come from the thoughts. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk through each one of these steps. I'm going to role model it, and then I'm going to ask you to role play it as well.
Okay.
Okay? So the first step is actually kind of a thinking step. So it's actually figuring out what goal you want to reach. So is that employment? What does that look like? Okay? The second step is an action step. So it would be behavior that you would be doing to find out all the information that you would need on how to reach that goal. The third step is a thinking step, which is what are thinking about what are those skill steps that you may need in order to reach your goal. And the fourth is actually action, and those are you actually taking that first step towards your goal.
Okay.
It might make more sense once I kind of role play it, okay?
Yep.
So I'm gonna walk through it, and then we'll go through yours.
Gotcha.
And when I do this is my thought.
Yep.
Okay. So I really want to find a job. I really think that needs to be a priority, and that needs to be first thing I'm going to have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of research on the computer, go through some temp sites, go to a couple websites to see what jobs they have posted, to see if any of those kind of catch my interest. Some of the skill steps I'm actually going to need is really helping out how to address my criminal behavior. What am I going to need in order to articulate and explain why I'm on supervision and my past charges, because that might hinder me from getting a job. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a list of jobs and bring them back into here and talk to my PO about what would be the best way to explain my criminal history.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now these are your skill sets, and I just wrote them down. So if you just kind of want to follow them, I'll help you through. And it doesn't have to be a job, but it can be any goal that you might have. I just know that we had talked about finding a job. So go for it whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I really need to set a goal of finding a full-time job that I can support myself. So I'm going to go, as far as the action goes, I'm going to go to Iowa Workforce Development and see how they can help me out there. Check out websites, look in the newspaper at the Help Wanted section, and then just drive around and see what I can find for Help Wanted signs. So the skill steps that I've learned that I'm going to need to reach my goal would be, I guess, asking someone for help. Another concern I have is just my job record is kind of spotty. I haven't held a job for, an extended amount of time. So that's something that I'm going to need help with and need to really utilize some of the support that I have with PO and other support that I have set up in the community. So my first step is going to be going to Iowa Workforce Development, where I know they're going to help me out with putting a resume together and kind of pointing me in the right direction. And then I plan on following up with you and
Perfect.
submitting I don't know, how many do you think I need to submit? I want to submit resumes until I have a job, so I don't really know how many. 20, 30, 40.
Well, we don't want to set us up for kind of that disappointment. So
Yeah.
why don't we start with 20 in 2 weeks, and you bring in some of those.
Okay.
Because when you were having that number 3, you kind of talked about how to explain, ask for help when it comes to filling out that experience. So if you want to grab a couple that you might struggle with,
Okay,
bring those in and we can fill them out together. Okay?
all right.
Awesome. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.